There is no doubt about it. Zillow is an industry disruptor for the real estate industry. I'm not a big fan about it, and that's the topic of today's video, but more importantly, I want you to learn about things that you should be keeping in mind and just little warning signs about how Zillow works so that you can make the most informed decisions for yourself. Hello there, I'm Henry, and for those who are new to the channel, I am a real estate agent serving the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, specializing in Montgomery County. Now, today though, the topic is less about something that's specific to Montgomery County, Maryland, and pertaining to Zillow, which is a national company. Now, this is not going to all be negative. I'm going to talk about some of the positive as well, but I want to start with 6 things that you should be keeping in mind, and that is, in my opinion, things that are worth looking out for if you plan on using this very, very popular service. So, number 1, the process hurts a lot of buyers and sellers because it encourages people to do things all out of order. See, Zillow is fantastic because it armed consumers with something that they didn't have before, which is access to homes. Traditionally, people had to go directly to a real estate agent in order to get access to the homes, and now you can just be anywhere, almost anywhere, and be able to search for homes. And you also get a ton of information, which I think has been definitely a pro in terms of consumer education and access to information that's really important. And made real estate agents a lot more, it put a lot more accountability on them and forced them to be a lot more honest. They couldn't just hide the properties because now everybody can see everything. However, the process encourages people to be looking at homes, then take action only after they've started finding homes that they like. But that's actually not a really great process because you end up getting locked into a home that you love and you're not prepared because you haven't gone through the steps of getting pre-approved or talking to an agent about your needs and getting a real sense of what's happening in the market. So you're kind of putting the cart before the horse, so to speak. You're finding the house first and then trying to figure everything else out versus getting everything prepared so that once you find the ideal house, the process is quick and smooth. Now, in terms of sellers as well, we're going to get back to this, but the whole process is all over the place as well because you're looking at the value, you're assuming that that's the value that you're going to get for the home, and then you just go to an agent just kind of assuming that they're just going to be able to sell it for that price. And that's not always quite how it goes, and if you get stuck with an agent who is not good at informing you and preparing you for the steps ahead, then it can just become a very, very frustrating process. And there are a lot of people that I know who have been very frustrated with the process by trying to do everything themselves. They feel that by doing as much themselves as possible, they're going to save themselves time, stress, and money and not get taken advantage of by a predatory realtor or a predatory lender. But there's some steps that you can take to avoid that, and that's going to be a topic that we cover extensively in the channel. But I'm going to stop there on that topic. Number 2, schools. So when people are looking at Zillow, especially if they have a family and children who they're looking to put into public schools, they look on Zillow and then they just see the school as a number. And that is a horrific way to be looking through schools, and that's something that I coach my clients through, because oftentimes, even if a school has a high rank, it may not necessarily be a good fit for your child. So I don't think that it's been a very good, it hasn't been a service to people to be able to just look at a rank and say, okay, I'm only going to move to areas with schools that are ranked this number and above, because there's a lot more that goes into school rankings than you might realize. And sometimes it's actually a lot more simple, but doesn't measure metrics that might actually be important to you, like class sizes or how they're actually measuring what is good and measure what is bad. Student to teacher ratios, subjects that are really focused on within the schools, the overall school culture. All of those things are really going to have a much bigger impact on your child's enjoyment and experience at a school than whatever a number might be ranked. So number 3, so one thing that people don't really think about is, how does Zillow make money, right? Because they don't charge you to search for homes, and they don't charge you to contact one of those agents there. So as far as you're concerned as a consumer, everything seems to be free, right? Well, there are a lot of different ways that Zillow makes money, and they're changing their model quite a bit. But one of the large ways that they've been making money is through agents. Well, what do you mean? When you're searching for a home and then you're like, oh, I want to see this home, let me schedule something. On the side panel, there's a list of several agents. They call them premier agents, and through those premier agents, you can reach out to one, right? You can look through all the ones that have 5-star rankings, which is just about every single one. And you pick the one that seems fine and reach out to them, and hopefully they'll get back to you. That's kind of the Zillow process of going through it. Now, what a lot of people don't know is those agents who are premier agents have paid Zillow thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars a month to have their name on there. Because essentially all Zillow is they've created a website where people can access information on homes, and they've then resold the advertising space back to the real estate agents. And so basically when you're using Zillow and then you enter your information there are agents and the loan officers who have paid a significant amount of money to get your information. And then that just gets recycled. So if you've had an experience where you've reached out and then suddenly you get slammed with a bunch of these calls, that's what's happening. You have agents who are paying to access the information of people who are surfing on their website. Now, that's not to say that every agent on there is is a bad agent or a slimy agent or anything like that. There are some phenomenal agents who use Zillow and advertise on Zillow, but it's important for you as a consumer to know how they get their information on there. It's not from a ranking system or anything like that. It's basically based on however much money that they're paying to get their advertisement up there. So, number 3, this part might be a little bit controversial, but in my experience, and things might be changing, but they put in policies that intentionally misinform to make it seem like they have a lot more information than they actually do. So what ends up happening is, and this has been time and time again, especially in fast markets, the experience of people where they look at a home, they say, oh, this looks perfect, it's ready, it's for sale. They reach out to agents, maybe it's somebody through Zillow, or maybe it's just somebody that they know themselves. And by the time they reach out to the person, they hear that the home is already sold, and they're like, what the heck is going on? Well, there's a lag time between what happens and when it gets posted onto Zillow. Now, in addition to that, Zillow is continuing to delay the exchange of information so that when you're surfing on there, you're like, oh, well, there are way more homes on here than what I received through my realtor, if you're working through with a realtor. So I think that that's very misinforming. It can be very discouraging, especially if you've been waiting for that dream home, and all of a sudden, when you find it on Zillow and then you reach out to an agent, just being crushed because that home is no longer available. So that kind of leads me to my fourth point. The information that you get is not as fast as what you would get through a real estate agent. So one of the things that I always tell my clients who are purchasing a home is that if you want to get the fastest results, you need to know the moment that the home hits the market, especially in markets like the DC metropolitan area that are extremely fast, where homes just sell in a matter of hours. So when you work with a realtor, then that real estate agent can set up the automated home searches so that literally the minute that the agent is typing in and presses enter to finalize the listing, so whether it's 3 in the afternoon or 3 in the morning, you get it sent to your email right away, and that way you can get schedule and plan accordingly, so that way you don't get bid out in terms of timeline. And number 6 is the Zestimate. So talk to any realtor about the Zestimate. Everybody complains about it because that's one of the big things that realtors have to fight against, because people look at the Zestimates, they assume that that might be what they can get for their home, and when they talk to the real estate agent, you come across a few different types of agents. One who are just happy that they got the call and will just do whatever you ask them to do and never advise you, and then those who actually show you the numbers and maybe show you what the correct price is to list a home. And this creates a lot of misinformation because people, they look at their Zestimates, look at all these comparables, and they just kind of make the snap decision of, oh, well, this is what my home is, so I'm going to get angry at the realtor if the Zestimate is not, or if they don't offer the list price that I'm expecting on my Zestimate or more. A good story that I always tell people is that Zillow's own CEO, when he was selling his house, his home sold for 40% less than the Zestimate that he had on his own house. So kind of keep it in mind. If the CEO of Zillow is getting far, far below the asking price, nearly half of what his estimate said, there might be some room for misinformation on your end. Now, those are just a bunch of things that I don't like about Zillow. However, they are good for several reasons, like what I mentioned at the beginning. It's really good that they're empowering people with information, because prior, there was a lot of room and a lot of avenues for real estate agents to basically guide, steer, lead, and withhold information and not give people who are out there searching for homes all the information that they need to make the best decisions for themselves. So I think that that's a really, really good thing for the industry, that realtors are now held to a much higher standard of honesty, integrity, because then people can look up this information and call out people's BS. Number two, it made that access to the information has made up for the bad real estate agents, the ones who are predatory, because now people have access to all this information, and if something doesn't really seem to sit right, they can look it up, and they don't have to just take the real estate agent for their word. They can look up a lot of information. I think that that's absolutely phenomenal. And number three, let's be honest, it makes searching fun and easy. It's great to just be able to, be on your phone and just flip through a bunch of homes, whether you're in your bed or on your toilet or at work or whatever it might be. It's fun and it's quick and it's convenient, and it just makes the experience a lot more accessible than it was before. So those are all good things that happen, and it's forced everybody to step up their game within the real estate industry. So, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Zillow. There are a handful of reasons why people should be concerned about them. However, if you're using it as a resource, then it's not a bad place to go. However, the best thing for you if you're looking to buy or sell a home, honestly, is going to be to talk with a real estate agent who really can guide and inform you through the entire process, rather than trying to do everything by yourself and ultimately getting disappointed by the results. However, that's just my opinion, and of course it can seem very self-serving because I am a real estate agent, but I've been on both sides of it, where prior to being an agent, I used Zillow a lot, and I went through a lot of the pitfalls that people run into. So that's kind of where I'm speaking from. Well, thank you so much for watching this video. If you're interested in moving to Montgomery County, or if you're an agent who's actually looking to refer somebody to the DC metropolitan area, then we would love to take your referrals. Well, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.